Hello everybody, today's topic is about the 5 questions that I ask every single person I work with because they tell me the most about the state of someone's nervous system. My job as an osteopathic manual practitioner and pain coach is to really get inside and understand how well balanced a person's nervous system is working. And these 5 questions are my top 5. I ask tons of questions on a health history, of course, but if I could only ask 5, these would be the ones. And it's how a person's sleeping, their energy throughout the day, do they have any scar tissue from surgeries, and what medications are they on, and traumas, physical and emotional traumas. Those are my top 5. And today I'm going to talk about the trauma piece. I'll get into the other ones in other videos, and I've touched on a few of those things already. And trauma is really important. I start my presentation when I'm working with people explaining this and how the body holds on to these physical and emotional traumas and how they can really be impacting a person's body's ability to heal itself. Osteopathically, remember, we're really excited when everything in the body is moving. That's what our job is. Our job is to find the most tense part in a person's body and get it moving properly and less tense. That's basically it. We just really treat the whole body. We treat the fluids and the energy and the structure and the organs and the bones. So it's very, very holistic, a very interesting holistic approach. Now, if you imagine if you've ever had a big fall or a big old bad whiplash or a terrible concussion from sports, or if you've just fallen and broken your wrist, or if you've fallen and hurt your hip, whatever it is, that would be a trauma that is a physical trauma, okay? And again, I don't care when this happened. I just care that it happened. If you were 5, if you were 17, you're 80 now, it's important to me. And let me tell you why. Sometimes, and as I'm talking right now clinically. I'm using the osteopathic principles I'm taught, and I'm talking clinically, which means this is what I've seen and experienced and been taught, okay? I'm not quoting research. I'm quoting my hands-on experience with people just like you, trying to help their body to heal itself. Now, what happens is if, for example, a very simple example, this person comes to me, she has fallen on some ice in her garage and she, put out her arm, fell that way, and her shoulder's been sore. She's gone for treatment and she's found that it's not resolving. She's still really weak in her hand and it's really, really painful. And her range of motion is very limited. And this, of course, you don't want to let it go too long because that old frozen shoulder can show up. So she came to see me, and really what I discovered was the impact from that fall landed more in here. And it could have also been related to her health history of tension here. I can't really remember, to be honest, but I remember that once we treated the tension here and she maintained it through the exercises we showed her, I guess I showed her, I say we a lot. So she basically then could go for treatment that was more local to her shoulder and progress, okay? So again, my point is when you have a fall, a big physical trauma, for us, that impact lands somewhere in the body. And some people, this doesn't affect them and they don't have chronic pain and their body adapts and gets rid of the tension, and that's wonderful. Like, congratulations, your body's really good. That's great. But if you're someone who's struggling with pain, I'm just telling you, this is the health history I see with every single chronic pain patient I work with. These 5 questions, they are answering and showing me that they've been affected by one of those things or multiple of those things. And so their nervous system is now out of whack. And now we have to look at the whole system in general, not just treat their darn shoulder pain or whatever it is. Okay, let me give you another example. Imagine someone falling on their tailbone with a lot of force. And that can really be a bugger to get rid of. I know that personally. But it really can land up in the cranium, and then they can start getting terrible headaches, right? I think that seems pretty reasonable a correlation. That's not such a crazy one. But that can happen. My point is, the symptom is not where the impact is, because that impact didn't land in the tailbone, it landed more up in here. That's where most of the tension was created. Does that make sense? So if you have an issue, maybe it's a shoulder, maybe it's a chronic low back, maybe it's a hip, maybe it's a foot or a knee, those things, again, you want to, if you have those things in your health history, it's likely that we really need to treat the whole system and really do that in order to help that pain. So that's the physical trauma part. And I would say 80 to 90% of my people, especially I'm a pain coach now too, which means I'm working with people online with this multidisciplinary approach I have, not just with obviously my hands anymore, helping people. And I would say almost all of them had some sort of, oh, I was in a car accident, back in the day where there were no seatbelts, and I was a kid and I was fine. I walked away and there was no problem. But those, for me, it's like, okay, well, that was a first whack for your system. So that's physical trauma. Now let's move on to emotional trauma. And it's really, in the way clinically and the way we're taught, it's kind of no different. It's where does that emotional trauma land in the body for you? And then how do you work with it to get that part of your body moving again and really work on resolving and releasing, I guess the right word is, that emotional anchor point. Okay, so for example, I just did a video about your lungs a few weeks ago. Your lungs, according to Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, our grief can be stored in our lungs. So again, another example, working with someone who's it was really stressful. Their father had passed away. She was this young, healthy person. And then all of a sudden, like almost to the day, her shoulder really became really painful and a terribly chronic situation. She had to take, a little time off work, and like it was a big deal. And so when we know the timeline and I'm like, oh, and I know those things, then again, I want to do a more holistic approach for that person. And again, awareness is 90%. When people understand this and can correlate it to themselves, the whole thing just makes a whole lot more sense, doesn't it? And then it's easier to do what you know you need to do to release it and feel better. Okay, so emotional stuff. And then we know the heart holds all the emotions, according to Chinese medicine. Lungs are grief. Colon is holding on, so you need to let it go. What are some other ones? Let me think. Oh, liver holds our anger. And is this a textbook? Is this everybody? No, it's a guideline. It's a guideline. And I think those are the main ones I can pull out of my head right now. I think pancreas is unfulfilled expectations, but don't quote me because I'm remembering that from a long time ago. But imagine, again, I find with the heart, so the heart sits here, sometimes we're in protection zone if our emotional trauma has kind of landed in our chest area where our heart is. And then we can be rolling our shoulders forward in a little bit of protection. So those are the things have observed clinically. And sometimes you'll be, helping someone and treating their liver, and they'll have, one thing is that happens a lot is people will just start to laugh uncontrollably. They always apologize. They're like, I don't know why I'm laughing so hard. There'll be something kind of funny, maybe, but that's one amazing, easy way to release that emotional anchor point in the body. Now, this physical trauma and this emotional trauma, when I'm talking about where it's landing in the body, and I'm doing this because what it does, and we see and feel clinically, is that it creates an anchor point of tension. And why is that such a big deal? Because that anchor point of tension tells us things aren't moving well. And everything in the body functions better when it can move. We feel better when we move. Your liver's no different. Okay? And one more point, I'll just reverse back to emotional trauma, is that we're taught, again, osteopathically, this is all food for thought, maybe a new perspective for you to ponder, is our emotions are held in our fluids, which I actually didn't mention at my fluid video last week, or I think it was last week. No, it was 2 weeks ago. So the fluids we're taught actually are the part of the body that are holding our emotional traumas, and I think we were taught that is actually, our memories and our experiences are held in that part of our body. Very interesting things to ponder. So again, emotional trauma, physical trauma, there's an anchor point of tension, and it can be in the fluids, it can be, it can be in the structure, it can be in the energy, and having that awareness that that's a possibility will help you to discover more about yourself, more about your body, and hopefully that'll lead to eliminating and getting the right help for your chronic pain, chronic issues. Awesome. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you got value from today because I think this one's a really big one. Have a good one. Bye-bye.